Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you for joining me today for today's card making video, which is for the Project Share Project blog hop. So we do this on the first Saturday of every month, and our theme this time round is to case the catalogue. So from time to time we all have a bit of a mojo blank, and we just can't think of what we want to create. But if you actually use the catalogue as inspiration, often there is lots in there that you can grab some ideas from. Okay, so today's project is this one. So I'm going to be making this card with lots of texture on it, which features the Honeybee Home stamp set coordinating dies, which is the Honeybee Blooms, and we've got framed occasions and the beautiful shapes stamps and dies there. Okay, so these are in the annual catalogue. Okay, so just pop those to one side. So just to show you where I've got my inspiration from. So the first thing was the front of the mini catalogue here, with these hexagons on here, and I actually quite like this clean white on white look. So I really like that with the sentiment across it and stuff. So that was pretty. And then I was flicking through this catalogue looking for something else, and I came across this card here. So again, the hexagons are in the background, but this time they're either printed or blended or something. So I'm assuming that there's a bit of blending going on. Some of them might be designer series paper or whatever, with the flowers and the die cut greenery. And there's iridescent pearls in the background, which I also really like. Cute that the sentiment fits on one of those hexagons, which was something I was thinking about doing but decided not to. I went this style of sentiment instead. So it's kind of a mix and match of this sort of floral layout, the hexagonal backgrounds with the embossing, but with colour added and stuff as well. So that's where the inspiration has come from for this card design. Okay, and I think you can obviously see how that's been applied to my finished card. The other thing that I've done, which was kind of accidental and then turned into something deliberate, was that I'd used all of the in colours bar one. So I decided to chuck on the pearls and colour them with the Fresh Freesias. This actually has all 5 of the outgoing in colours on it. So I've got Polished Pink, Soft Succulent, Evening Evergreen. It's Pale Papaya that I've used to do the inking across the background. Then I've brought in the Fresh Freesia on the embellishment. So all 5 of them are in there. So because I did that, I've challenged myself to do the sample for the video in all the current in the 2022 in colours. Okay. Should also say that this is a blog hop, so or video supporting a blog hop, so please do click on the description, have a look at my link to my own blog, which will then have the details of all the other blogs in the hop. So that's myself, Heather, Jill and Jez, part of the Project Share project. Okay, quite a lot to do, so let's get to it. A couple of things. We've already got it's just a plain white card base, so that's ready to go when we're done. I've already stamped the images ready to colour, which I did with Memento ink so that we can use our stamping blends. So sort of planning ahead, obviously the green is going to be Parakeet Party, but our flowers are going to be Orchid Oasis. Okay, so let's just get this coloured in reasonably quickly. So I'm just going to pop that colour in. This is quite small. It's not going to be something that's going to be terribly artistic in terms of blending or anything, and it is a super bright colour, but we're going to go with it. Okay, and just for fun, I thought I'd do one with dark stems and one with light stems, just to bring that in. I say it's just giving a hint of that greenery, really. And once you die cut it, it'll all sort of blend in. Anywho, okay, so nothing particularly special about doing this. And then, as you will often see me do when I'm using the stamping blends, I'm going to pop in my dark colour where there is shadow, and that will be in sort of the bell of the flowers, the base where it meets, or where there's lines indicating that there are shadows. So just popping that in, and again, I'm not going to kind of fuss too much. And sometimes you find that you get deeper colours with one end of your marker than the other, so that's coming out nice and dark. So I might go over some of this actually. Thought it looked a bit pale, and I didn't do my usual tester. So okay. So just dropping that in. Like I say, I'm not trying to overthink this. This isn't really about this isn't a colouring tutorial, this one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this. Okay, so that's the dark marker popped in, and we'll blend that out now using the lighter one. Oh, that's a bit scratchy on that paper. Hope that can be irritating to people, so apologies for that. So I don't know what these flowers are supposed to be, but they kind of, in this colour, they look a bit like, I don't know, morning glories or something like that. Whereas in the pinky purples, I think they look more like foxgloves. I don't know whether these flowers have the same name in other countries. Okay, so just, as I say, I don't particularly want to spend a lot of time on this. This is just for the purposes of making the card, where we are casing the catalogue. Okay. And my sort of accidental challenge to myself to use all these 2022 colours, no, 2023 colours, gosh, I keep forgetting we're in 2023, and these would have come in last summer. A bit of a harsh line on those, so I'm just going to go over those a little bit more, just to see if we can get those moving a little bit. I have to say, Orchid Oasis isn't one of the colours that I've used a lot of. That's another thing that we can get done there. So of course these are going to be die cut out so that we can do that nice layered look that we had in the sample card. So we can get those done quickly. I'm going to use the Big Boss because it's here, and we're going to be doing a fair bit of die cutting, so I'm just going to pop that through. And what I might do is use the Mini Boss to show you all the cutting for the background. Cool, did you hear my brain thinking very hard then? Did you hear it? I went silent and my brain was like working hard then. Okay, so there's our two sort of floral elements done and die cut. Now what I didn't do was get out some parakeet party cardstock, but as it happens, there is some just, oh, she says just here. Sorry, reaching across, you can see my elbow. Reaching across to my cardstock. Just knock off a bit of that. Keep my cardstock in like a letter organiser thing, an A4, like, I don't know, what would you call it? Now, for a bit of definition on this, I think I might, because we've coloured, now on the original sample I had a bit of contrast between the evening evergreen and the soft succulent, because there was two greens, obviously. Just going to use some scrap paper just to make sure there's no residual ink on there. Now, just to get a bit of variation, I'm just going to smear some of this on here. I'm not trying to blend it, I'm just trying to add some ink. Okay, and it will just give it a different look. Okay, so that's got to be cut out twice as well. So there is quite a bit of die cutting on this card, so it's a bit more involved. So if you're a beginner, you may want to look back at some other videos where I explain a bit more about how these processes work. But I love die cutting. I think it's like, it's just fascinating that just being able to apply that pressure onto the cardstock will give you such a precise cut on these things. It's just amazing. So our punches are great and obviously are a lower price point, but you can't get the detail from a punch. They're great for basic shapes and labels and things like that, but you never get this kind of cutting from anything else like that. And I know there are people out there who love fussy cutting. I am not one of those people. I'll do it, but it takes a long time. I don't find it particularly relaxing, but then there are people who don't like colouring, okay, but I like colouring. So it's all a bit sort of horses for courses in terms of like the bits and pieces that we like. So I don't know whether that shows that that's kind of got a bit more to it rather than just being flat parakeet party card, okay. So it just gives it a bit of something. You can take it or leave it and decide to add that if you want to. Okay, I've got this hexagons. These are the pairs, and I thought we'd use this one just so that it cuts two at a time rather than single hexagons, right? But I think in the samples on the card, they used the bigger ones. Okay, so first things first is we're going to get a piece of our basic white cardstock. And I shall tell you, on this one, I embossed it, I inked it, and then I die cut it. And I don't know whether you can tell, but it's flattened the embossing pretty much all the way. the ink has stayed where it was and highlighting the design, but it has pretty much flattened that embossing. Okay, and that was a 3D embossing folder, so that probably gives you an idea of how much that has flattened out that embossing. So this time round, I think what I'm going to do is pull in this piece of paper, because it's got T-shirt tied over it already. What I'm going to do is ink my cardstock, die cut my cardstock, and then emboss the pieces. Okay, we don't need the pieces to necessarily fit together like a jigsaw or anything. We just want to apply that texture to the background. Okay, so just going to build up some colour onto here, the idea being that we will get some portions that have more ink on than others. I'm using a large brush because I want to get a more even blend, although I'm not succeeding in that very well at the moment. And I'm covering a larger area. So I want this edge to be quite dark. And this to fade out. Okay, that was Tahitian tied. So I've used 4 out of the 5 colours now. Okay, so now we've done that, I'm going to bring in Baby Boss. And cutting plates. Number 1, number 2. And what I'm going to do is die cut this in different places. So I'm going to take this right across here. So we're going to get some dark into medium and then some medium into light ones. Okay. You need to take it through as far as you'll hear it, you'll feel it. Even if you've never done it before, trust me, when you first do that you will be able to feel that that's gone far enough through. Okay, so we're going to have variation in our hexagons. I'm just popping them out and laying them over here, just keeping them sort of in order. I'm going to do this 4 times, so we end up with 8 hexagons. Oops. Just to say that this isn't the best surface to be doing the die cutting on, because it's a bit of a slicker surface, so it just sort of slip about a bit. Then we've got one more that we're going to put over here. You can fold that away, put it away. And you could even use that like a stencil. It's another way that you can sort of use the waste from your projects, if you wish. Okay, so that's dead easy. It's just a little bit more time consuming, that's all. Right. And then I'm going to use, instead of using, on the sample, I used the Hive 3D embossing folder. This is the quatrefoil, and this is a regular embossing folder. So I'm just going to pop these down in here. And send them through the large machine, because this is obviously a 6x6 folder, so we need to just remove our die adapter plate and just sandwich it between two clear plates as directed on the platform itself. It's got sort of integral instructions, if you like, on the white platform, so you can always refer to that if you can't quite remember what combination of plates you need for a particular job. When we lift that out, we're going to have these beautiful embossed hexagons. How super cute are those? Okay, so we can just lift those out. Might have to seek the help of a little tool to do so, as I am doing. Obviously don't want to scratch your embossing folder, just take it easy. Just goes to show how deep that is though, and that's just a regular folder, that's not a 3D one, so there you go. Okie dokie. Right, time to get things constructed then. Okay, so it kind of feels like you're picking up things lots of times on this one, and I couldn't think of a more efficient way of doing it, if I'm honest. So go figure. Right, I'm going to flip these over now. This is one little time saving thing, because I was doing it individually on the other ones. Now these two I'm going to pop these ones under here, and because I'm going to be, you see how the dark's coming in from the bottom and in from the top, so it's going to flip those around, and these are just about big enough in my opinion. To adhere these adequately. Okay, and we can get all those off. So I was doing these individually on the other one, so probably don't need to do that. Now that I've planned it as well, I kind of know where they need to go. So originally I was sort of doing it piece by piece just to make sure that they fitted where they needed to. Okay, so this guy is going to start us off. I'm going to pop that down and trying to keep it sort of straight, basically, with what's going on next to it. Okay, we're not particularly lining up a pattern necessarily, so don't worry about that. Okay, but I am sort of looking to make it go from dark to light across the card, and getting that spacing looking reasonably even. You're probably all screaming a much easier way to do this at me, but you know, that's fine. There's always easier ways to do things. On the other one, I squeeze this in over here. It's a little close to the edge, but that's alright, I can live with that. Then I'm going to pop this one in here. I'm sort of meandering across the card, if you know what I mean. Oh, didn't have the backing off that one, or I missed it, or whatever. Oops. And I want the darkest one over here. And then this one. Over here. So that's going to form the basis of our background. Okay. So the next thing we can do is place on our greenery. So these are pretty delicate little things, but I'm just going to use some wet glue. Just going to lightly smear a little bit over that sort of middle sort of stem portion there, and have that going across our sort of little tiles. Like so. And then this one's going to go up here somewhere. Maybe a little bit further over. So I need to just hold that down a bit. It's kind of, you know, trying to negotiate some texture, so might need some help just to stay put in the first instance. Our other blooms, now I'll kind of want, that's going to be sort of flat, but I want the bottom sort of supported, so I'm going to pop a dimensional on the bottom, in this sort of area at the bottom, just to secure that. And hint of wet glue on the top, and we'll just lay that in here, so that's going to be secured there, and that glue is going to secure that there. So again, you might want to just hold it down just for a second. And then similarly, we want to make sure that this is supported where it needs to be. So again, it's going to need something right at the bottom here. I might get a mini actually for that. It's on this sort of small bit down here. And we'll put some glue down the centre there. That's going to cover up where that glue originally was. Okay, I need to just hold that down just for a second. I'm going to use the Sweet Sorbet marker to colour our iridescent rhinestones, which will just give that a second to dry while we do our other bits and pieces. So, because these are an alcohol based product, they dry on non-porous surfaces. So just go over those gems, kind of catch the sides, go around the edge like that. And you can colour your, so this will apply to any of your gems that are white or clear or whatever. You can customise the colour of them by adding alcohol based product to that. So they're just going to sit and dry just for a second, and then we've got Starry Sky, which is going to be our colour that we're going to do our sentiment in. So this lovely Thinking of You is going to stamp onto this strip, which is 3/8 of an inch. Deep, so hopefully my head doesn't get into that. I'm just going to bring that closer to me so that I can just line it up so you don't get a nice view of my head. Okay. Ooh. And we stick our finger in the ink pad. Let's just get that off. Blue is my nemesis, you know, because it always seems to be blue ink I end up with all over me. Okay. Do the washing up later and that'll come off. Okay. But at least it won't transfer onto a project now, it's like wiped off. And then we can just cut that to size with our snips. So again, we want to be able to support the end of that with a mini dimensional. So we've got all that texture to contend with. Okay, you can, because we've got the wet glue out, we can use the wet glue, or you can use seal, whichever you prefer. So that's going to go across there, and you can opt to cover the ends of the stalks and whatever, or you can just embrace the fact that they're going to peek out from underneath. Okay, so again, you might just want to hold that for a second just to make sure that that stays in place, and then we can just apply our rhinestones. Okay, so we can pop those on. Could have added the ribbon or anything else like that as well. We've got all that stuff in the in colours. Okay, that sort of brings out a little pop of colour as well. In fact, I'm wondering if the sentiment had been better in that colour, but you know, it is what it is. But say it was just a little bit of a fun little challenge because I accidentally kind of did that on the original sample, so it's a bit of fun. Case in the catalogue. I like the original, this one. I think the colours work much better, but nonetheless, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? And it gives you a really nice idea of how to use those shapes with some texture and some ink blending. It could be designer series paper, whichever. Okay. So there we go, that's my Case the Catalogue design for the Project Share Project blog hop that's going on at the moment. Do check the description, check over on my blog, and then that will link you through to the other participants today who will also be casing the catalogue. So it'll be interesting to see what projects they've picked out to inspire them. Thanks for joining me today. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.